And you can see here it looks a little crazy because we went to two extremes and his body height isn't moving at all. But we're going to fix that by doing the middle frame next. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the middle frame. And what we want to do first is set up our onion skinning. Onion skinning is something that comes with Flash that enables us to do exactly what we need in this case, which is to edit multiple frames or to see before and after this current frame so we can line stuff up better. So we're going to click the first one to the left, and you can see that just does like a ghosting. It's doing the first frame and before and after the current frame. So the other options are to do an outline. It's the same thing, it's just a different look. It's showing the actual vector outline instead of showing the ghosting. And the final option here, it's actually going to be edit all frames at once. So no matter what object I click in, if you look here at my keyframes up top, even though I'm on this middle frame here, if I select the shape from the third frame, it's going to select that appropriate keyframe. This can be handy for some things, but I find that this can actually cause a lot of errors. You'll accidentally select the wrong keyframe, so I tend to stick with the first one here, which is ghosting. It's also, if you have a lot of keyframes, you can slide this way out. It's not going to let me show you here, but this little handle here, it's going to show exactly how many images to ghost. So if I had 4 or 5 keyframes after this, I could slide this all the way out and see the full progression of the animation. For us, we only need to see the first and before and after this current keyframe. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is set my body height up. So I'm going to refer again to the walk cycle cheat sheet here, and I'm just going to select my entire guy here, and you can see as I'm moving it now, you're going to see more ghosting, because where this current position of this character was, it was actually hiding all of the first frame key positions. So now that we move it, you can see that there's 3. That's exactly what we want. So I'm going to move this down a little bit. I might be going too far here. And now I'm going to position his upper body next. We're going to rotate him down. Whoops. Okay. And just like that. And we're bending his body forward like this to really, got his mouth in there, to really show weight. I mean, nobody would really walk like this in real life, but that's not really the point. The point with doing anything cartoony is to really exaggerate the point, so visually you can tell right away what's going on, and that's pretty much the point. Another thing I like to do is I'll just kind of go back and forth and just check my animation. Like I'm seeing this might be popping a little bit too much. And after a while when you practice you're going to get used to this, but so I'm going to go back to this frame now and tweak this out just a little bit. I think his head's popping a little too much. Make sure I line it up good. Okay, the next thing I got to do is the arms. The arms actually don't really move all that much in this one. So what we want to do is we're going to move these up just a little bit to about there. Now it can stay pretty much the same. Okay, now we're going to work on the legs, and like I said before, this is by far the trickiest part. So I'm kind of doing a combination of things here. I'm actually checking my cheat sheet animation, but I'm also worrying about how my keyframes with the onion skinning is lining up, because if they don't line up, whether it looks good compared to the cheat sheet or not, it's not going to matter. I got to really make sure that my animation's smooth. So I really want to make sure that from the, looking at the onion skins, that I'm on point. Okay, it doesn't look like much now, but you know, we're well on our way here. So this looks pretty good, but I'm going to jump ahead now and I'm going to complete all the other keyframes up to the part where we actually flip. Like I talked about before, we're basically going to flip the first keyframe when we get halfway done. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead now to that, and we're going to continue from there. Okay, now once you're at your 5th frame and you're pretty happy with your animation, it's time to do the flip. So what we're going to basically do is the same thing we did before. We're going to select this entire row, the first frame of all layers. We're going to copy these frames, click and drag, select our whole column. We're going to paste those frames in. Now, what we're going to actually do is we're going to paste those frames in again on the next frame. And we're really, what we're essentially doing here by doing this is we're actually using these frames as a guide. Okay, so we can line stuff up. Because remember, all our positions are correct, it's just that they're the opposite body parts. So, you know, we're going to basically use that first frame as a direct template. So what we're going to do is use our onion skinning again. I'm going to grab this handle so it's not going back. It's only going forward a frame. And you're not going to see anything yet because these are identical so far. But when we start flipping these around, okay, and make sure you're on the 6th frame, not the 7th frame, we're just going to start positioning these so they match over the other positions of the opposite limbs. Now you're going to notice some things like this, the drawings are actually different, but that's okay. You're just worried about the position, so it's obviously not going to be perfect because the drawings themselves are different, but just get the general positioning right and you're going to be good to go. Okay, so our arms are done now. Okay, so we're going to move down, check that animation. You can see that's about right. That's good. Now we're going to worry about the feet and the legs, and again, this is the trickiest part. But now it's a little easier because we have a direct guide to line these positions up. You really, at this point, don't even have to look at the walk cycle cheat sheet because we're literally going to, now it's more important that these line up with these other keyframes that you did, more so than worrying about the cheat sheet. Whoops. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, first leg looks like it's pretty close. So now we're going to do the other leg. And you can see now, once you get to the first 5 frames, it's really a cakewalk after that because, like I said, once you can directly copy, I mean, you can see here, this isn't that difficult at all. You know, we're just literally tracing those other frames. Okay, so that looks pretty good. You see it has that nice little snap. That's perfect. So once you're done with that, you delete this last frame because you don't need it anymore as a reference. Okay, and then just repeat. Just keep repeating that step until you're done. Then you should have yourself a nice cycle. Okay, so here is the entire animation completed. Okay, see that nice double step in there? That's a pretty good indication that our animation is looking pretty good. So what we're going to do is hit F12 to preview it in our browser. And there you go. So, you know, like I said, it's really not that hard. It's really more of a tedious thing than a creative or, you know, type of workload that you have to do. But what's nice about this is once you have this walk cycle animation, you can reuse this in so many different things that you want this character to do. You can even stop the character midway through and have him do another animation and then continue on with the walk cycle. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. So the walk cycle inherently isn't that hard to make, but you reap the rewards because you can use it for so many different things. So that's how you do an animation in a walk animation in Flash.